If you need 3 coffees just to function, if by 3 p.m. you're desperate, foggy, can barely keep your eyes open, this is not about age, and it's not about the coffee you had at lunch. Your afternoon crash started at 7 a.m., not at 3 p.m. when you feel it, not at lunch, but at 7 a.m. when your body didn't receive the signal it needed to set your energy for the entire day. There's a specific hormonal event that's supposed to happen around 30 to 45 minutes after you wake up, and that's called the cortisol awakening response. And when that doesn't happen properly, by afternoon your energy will crash. I'm going to explain exactly what's happening, why women in their 40s experience this differently, and most importantly, what actually fixes it. Because you haven't lost your capability, it's just that your signals are off. So let me describe a pattern I see constantly, and you'll probably recognize yourself in this. Women in their 40s, professionals, high achievers in leadership roles, managing teams, running businesses, making decisions that affect dozens of people. They describe the same afternoon experience. I need 3 coffees just to get through the day. I'm eating well, meal prepping, and really trying, but by 3 p.m. I feel like I could fall asleep at my desk. And then comes the question that makes me a bit sad, which is this just what getting older feels like? And what I hear beneath that question, the thing they don't always say out loud is, have I lost my capability? Is this permanent? Am I becoming irrelevant? And someone's actually said that to me. Because these are women who build careers on being sharp, on being the person who has the answer, on handling complex decisions without thinking twice. And now they're in afternoon meetings desperately trying to look engaged when their brain feels like it's moving through fog. They're nodding along, but they're not really there. They're just trying to get through until the meeting ends so they can get that 3rd coffee. And there's this kind of terror underneath of, what if someone notices? What if my team realizes I'm not as sharp as I used to be? And what if I'm losing my edge? The internal dialogue of, I used to be the sharpest person in the room and now I'm trying to keep up. What is actually wrong with me? And here's what I need you to understand. It's not that there's something wrong with you. This isn't what getting older should feel like, but this is what circadian misalignment feels like. And there's a massive difference there. So here's what's actually happening. There's a specific physiological event that's supposed to happen every morning, and that's called the cortisol awakening response, the CAR. About 30 to 45 minutes after you wake up, your cortisol is supposed to spike, not gradually rise, but have a very sharp increase. This isn't just cortisol going up, it's a distinct physiological boost designed to prepare your body for the metabolic and postural demands of the day. So think of it like your body's internal alarm system saying, right, the day's starting, let's mobilize resources, let's get ready. When that morning cortisol spike happens properly, at the right time with the right intensity, your body is primed for efficient energy utilization throughout the day. Your cells receive the signals to shift into an energy-producing state. Your mitochondria, those little energy factories in every cell, they get the message, it's daytime, produce energy, we need to be alert and capable. Your insulin sensitivity is optimized, your metabolism is ready, and your brain is sharp. But when that morning cortisol peak is weak or delayed, by afternoon your cortisol has dropped too low too early. And when cortisol drops below a certain threshold, you feel exhausted with brain fog, heavy eyelids, that I need to lie down right now kind of feeling. So the afternoon crash is often a morning problem. If your cortisol didn't spike properly at 7:30 a.m. or whenever sun rises, it's running on empty by 3 p.m. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this cortisol awakening response doesn't just happen automatically, it's controlled by your circadian clock, your master clock in the brain, which is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And that clock is set by one primary signal, which is morning light exposure. So when you get bright outdoor light in the morning within the first hour or two of waking, it hits specialized cells in your eyes. And these aren't the cells that help you see images, but these are photoreceptors designed specifically to detect environmental light and communicate that information to your master clock. When morning light hits these cells, they send signals saying it's daytime, it's morning, it's time to increase cortisol production. And that signal triggers the cortisol awakening response, that spike 30 to 45 minutes after waking up. But when you don't get that light signal, when you're inside from the moment you wake up, when you're looking at artificial light instead of natural daylight, that signal doesn't happen properly. Your cortisol might rise gradually instead of spiking, or it might spike late at night, or it might not spike enough. Your circadian clock doesn't receive the information it needs, and by afternoon, your cortisol has dropped too low, and that's what makes you crash. This is why I said the 3 p.m. crash started at 7 a.m. So what actually fixes this? Well, morning light exposure within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up, outside every single day. Not through a window, not with sunglasses on unless it's medically necessary, but actual outdoor light. 10 to 15 minutes minimum, 20 minutes is better, even 5 minutes is better than nothing. And I know what you're thinking if you live in northern climates or anywhere where it's grey most of the year. I do. You know, you might be thinking, but there's no sunlight in the morning, it's always grey, and so that's not going to work for me. And I totally hear you. I live in Ireland. I sometimes stand outside at 7 a.m. in the rain, feeling ridiculous. But here's what the research shows. Even on a completely overcast day, outdoor light is 10 to 100 times brighter than indoor light. Those specialized cells in your eyes, they can detect that difference even when you can't see the sun and even when it's grey and drizzly and miserable. Your circadian clock can still receive the signal it needs. Your cortisol awakening response can still happen. So yes, even in the rain, even when it's grey, you need to get outside. And what this might look like in practical terms is that you wake up within 30 to 60 minutes, ideally sooner, go outside, stand in your garden, walk around the block, sit on your doorstep with your coffee, whatever works for you. No sunglasses unless it's medically necessary. Your eyes need to receive the light directly. So 10 to 15 minutes minimum. You can do other things while you're out there, make a phone call, have your coffee, just be outside. So do this every single morning. Yes, even on weekends. Yes, even when it's raining. And yes, even when it's grey. Consistency matters more than perfection. So if you miss a morning, don't beat yourself up. Just get back into it the next day. Well, some of the objections I hear are, I have to leave for work before it's light outside. So in that case, you could get outside when you arrive at work, even 5 minutes in the car park, or at lunchtime if morning isn't at all possible. It's not ideal, but it's better than no outdoor light at all. Another one is, I live in a flat with no outdoor space. Well, you can stand by an open window for longer, 20 to 30 minutes, or go to a park before work, or get light on your commute. What about a light therapy lamp, I've been asked. Well, they can help, especially in winter, but they're not a replacement for outdoor light. So use both if you can, but outdoor light is the first priority. So let me tell you what this looked like for me. A few years ago, I was the person needing 3 coffees. Coffee at 7 a.m, another at 11, desperate for a third one by 3 p.m, sometimes a fourth after dinner because I had to do work in the evenings and my brain wouldn't cooperate without a coffee. And I was eating better than I ever had, prioritizing nutrition, getting sleep, doing all the right things, or so I thought. But I felt worse than when I was eating pizza and staying up until midnight. And I remember being in an afternoon call one day and someone asked me something and I knew the answer. I could feel it there, but just out of reach, and I just couldn't access it. And my brain was foggy and slow, like trying to run through water or something. And I remember thinking, I used to be good at this. So what's happening to me? Am I just declining? Is my brain not working as well anymore because I'm getting older? And that thought really terrified me. But then I learned about the cortisol awakening response and morning light exposure during my training, and I started testing it. And this was February in Ireland, so it was grey, it was drizzly, it was miserable weather that year. I remember the first morning standing in my garden at 7 a.m. in my dressing gown, in the rain, feeling totally ridiculous. And I couldn't see the sun at all. It was completely overcast. And I was thinking, well, this can't possibly be doing anything. There's no sun. It's raining. I'm getting wet here for no reason. In week 2, it's bucketing down. I'm standing at the back door under shelter this time, thinking, this is mental. Maybe this only works in sunny climates, maybe I'm just not the type of person this works for. So I almost quit multiple times. But in week 3, I think it was on Wednesday morning, something shifted. I woke up and felt a bit different, not dramatically different, but noticeably more alert, like my body had switched on properly. And that afternoon, I was in a call around 3 p.m., normally my worst time of day. And I realized I'm actually fully present. I'm tracking this conversation, I'm contributing ideas, and my brain's working really well. And I thought, wait, I haven't had a third coffee and I don't even feel like I need one. And by week 4, I hadn't needed that third coffee in over a week. Some days I didn't even need the second coffee, but I sometimes had it anyway because I enjoy drinking coffee. But anyway, my afternoon energy was more stable, the crashes were less severe, I could focus in meetings, and I started to feel like myself again. And the rain, the grey skies, the feeling ridiculous, that was all completely worth it because I got myself back. So if you're needing 3 coffees just to function, if by 3 p.m. you're desperate and foggy and barely keeping your eyes open, this isn't about age and this is not about willpower. Your afternoon crash started at 7 a.m. when your cortisol awakening response didn't happen properly, and that happened because your circadian clock didn't receive the light signal it needed. And the fix is simpler than you think. Morning light outside every day, even when it's grey, even when it's raining. I've created a free guide called 3 Hidden Signals Your Body is Missing that breaks down the exact protocol for morning light exposure, meal timing, and other circadian signals your body needs. So the link for that is in the description below if you'd like to download it. And if this video was helpful, please subscribe to this channel. I post weekly videos on circadian health for women in their 40s and 50s who are exhausted despite doing everything right. And leave a comment below. How many coffees do you need daily? And what time do you typically crash? Remember, you haven't lost your capability, your circadian signals are just off, and those signals can be corrected. And if you've been watching this and found this interesting and would like more information, I've created a full podcast episode on this. It's on YouTube, and I'll leave a link for that video in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.